The origin of the Guel dance. There were two sons of the Sultan of Johor, Malaysia. They are Maria and Sangeet. One day, the brothers were herding ducks by the sea while playing kites. Suddenly a violent storm came, so that their kite string broke. They chased the kite with all their might. They forgot that at that time they were herding the ducks, so the ducks went somewhere. After failing to find their kite, then they remembered their ducks. But unfortunately, the ducks were no longer visible. They also came home with fear of getting angry from their parents. It's true what they think. Arriving home, their father scolded them. They were also ordered to look for the ducks, and were not allowed to return until the missing ducks were found. They have been walking for days or even months looking for their ducks, but to no avail until they finally arrived at Sirul village. With limp bodies they headed to a prayer room and fell asleep. In the morning they were found by villagers and brought to the palace of King Sirul. Unexpectedly, they were even adopted by the king. Some time passed, the people of Sirul lived in prosperity, security and peace. This is due to the supernatural powers of the two children. The prosperity of the Sirul people made King Ling jealous and angry, so that he threatened to kill the two children. Unfortunately for Maria, he was successfully killed and buried on the banks of the Samarkalong River, southeast Aceh. At one point, the little kings gathered at the palace of the Sultan of Aceh in Kutaraja. The little kings presented stamp, a kind of tribute to the Sultan of Aceh. At that time, young brother Sirul came with Sangeet. At that time, Ling King was also present. When Sirul King entered the palace, Sangeet was waiting in the palace courtyard. While waiting for his adoptive father, Sangeet drew a white elephant. Apparently this Sangeet painting attracted the attention of the Sultan's daughter, who then asked the Sultan to find a white elephant like the one drawn by Sangeet. Sangeet then told that the white elephant was in the Gao area, even though he had never actually seen it. So, at that time the Sultan ordered King Sirul and King Ling to catch the white elephant to present it to the Sultan. King Sirul and King Ling were completely confused. How could they find something they had never seen before? Sangeet regretted telling him that the white elephant was in Gao until his adoptive father was given the task of looking for it. In that confusion, one night Sangeet dreamed that he met Maria, who told him that the white elephant was in Samarkalong. And in fact the white elephant was himself who had incarnated when King Ling killed him. In the morning, Sangeet and King Sirul, whose title is Muyang Kaya, went to Samarkalong as ordered in Sangeet's dream. That's right, after a while of searching, the two of them found the white elephant wallowing on the bank of the river. Sangeet and King Sirul then carefully put the rope on the elephant's body, which seemed obedient. But when he was about to be pulled out, the white elephant ran with all his might. King Sirul and Sangeet could not hold it. They could only chase him until one day the elephant stopped near Maria's grave in Samarkalong. Surprisingly, the white elephant stopped like a rock. It didn't move in the slightest, even though Sangeet and King Sirul tried to heave it. Sangeet tried various methods so that the white elephant would move and obey his orders to be invited to go to the Kutaraja palace. However, all was in vain. Sangeet ran out of wits. Finally, he sang to attract the attention of the white elephant. While singing, Sangeet contorted his body. King Sirul joined in dancing with Sangeet in front of the white elephant so that it would get up and obey his orders. Unexpectedly, the white elephant was also attracted by Sangeet's movements and then got up. Sangid kept dancing while walking so that the elephant would follow in his footsteps. Finally, the elephant also followed Sangid, who continued to dance to the palace. He called this dance the Guel dance until now. Sangid realized that even an invitation to a person or an animal does not have to be in a rude way. With a dance, the white elephant finally complied with his invitation. The story of the Crown Prince Amat Mude. Once upon a time, in Alas country, Nongro Aceh Darussalam, there was a kingdom ruled by a wise and prudent king. All his people are always obedient and loyal to him. Alas country is always safe and peaceful. But one thing that always makes the king sad, because he has not been blessed with a child. The king really wanted to be like his younger brother who already had a child. One day, the king sat alone in thought in the palace hall. Without realizing it, suddenly his queen was sitting next to him. "What is my lord thinking about?" asked the empress slowly. "My beloved queen, we are old, but until now we do not have a son who will inherit the throne of this kingdom," said the king. "I understands my lord's feelings. I also really misses a baby. We have brought in healers from various countries and tried all kinds of medicines, but nothing has worked. We have to be patient and pray a lot to Almighty God," said the empress, reassuring her husband. How cold the king's heart was when he heard the words of his queen. He was very lucky to have a queen who was full of understanding and attention to him. "Thank you, my queen. I am very happy to have a queen like you who knows how to calm my heart," said the king, praising his queen. Since then, the king and queen have been praying more and more in the hope that their wishes will come true. One night, the king, accompanied by his queen, prayed fervently, "O God, grant us a son who will continue the throne of this kingdom. I am willing not to feel like a father, as long as we are blessed with a son," the king asked. A month later, the empress was pregnant. How happy the king knows that. The news about the empress's pregnancy spread throughout the country. The people of the country were very happy, because their king would soon have a descendant who would inherit his throne. Time keeps running. The empress's womb is already 9 months old. One afternoon, the empress gave birth to a healthy and handsome boy. The empress seemed to smile happily while cradling her son. Likewise, the king was always grateful to have obtained the son he had always wanted. "Thank you, God. You have granted our prayer," the king said in gratitude. A week later, the king also held a party and ceremony to run Mani, namely the naming ceremony. The feast and ceremony were held for 7 days and 7 nights. The invited guests are not only the people of Alas country, but also all the animals and spirits that exist in the sea and on land. All the invited guests looked happy and joyful. In the Turun Mani ceremony, the name of the king's son was determined, namely Amat Mude. A few months after the ceremony was held, the king began to get sick. His whole body felt weak and tired. "My queen, maybe this is a sign that my time is near. You certainly still remembers my prayer before we had children," said the king. Hearing the king's words, the empress's heart became sad. Even though she was aware of this, the empress still hoped that the king could recover and extend his life. All healers were invited to the palace to treat the king's illness. However, no one managed to cure him. Even the king's illness was getting worse day by day. Finally, the wise and prudent king died. The entire royal family and the people of the Alas country were in mourning. Because Amat Mude, as the sole heir to the Alas state kingdom, is still young and not yet ready to perform the duties of the kingdom, then Uncle Amat Mude, who is called Raja Muda, is appointed as the temporary king of Alas country. As a king, whatever his orders must be obeyed. That is what made him refuse to be replaced as king by Amat Mude. He did various tricks. At first, the king moved Amat Mude and his mother to the back room, who originally lived in the middle room. The reason is that Amat Mude, who is still young, often cries, thus disrupting every important event in the palace. Raja Muda's tricks are getting worse day by day. One day, he gathered several of his bodyguards in the palace courtroom. "Oh, guardsmen, early tomorrow morning, throw the empress and the snot-nosed child into the middle of the forest," ordered the viceroy. "What does majesty mean?" asked a surprised guard. "That's enough. Don't ask too many questions. I think you all know what I mean," replied the viceroy. "Forgive me, your majesty. I really don't know what his majesty meant when he wanted to throw the queen and the crown prince into the middle of the forest," said another guard. "I don't want that. One day Amat Mude will take this power from my hands," said Raja Muda. "But, majesty, isn't the crown prince Amat Mude the heir to the throne of this kingdom?" said another guard. "Hey, you guys don't have to talk much. Just carry out my orders. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences," snapped the viceroy. Hearing this threat, none of the bodyguards dared to speak up anymore, because if they dared to contradict and refuse the order, they would be subject to severe punishment. The next day, the guards left to accompany the empress and Amat Mude to the middle of the forest. The two of them were left in the middle of the forest with a makeshift provision. To protect themselves from the hot sun and the cold night air, the mother and child build a small hut under a shady tree. To survive, they make use of forest products that are widely available around them. Time keeps running. It's hard to believe that Amat Mude is already 8 years old. He grew into a smart and handsome boy. One day, while playing around, Amat Mude found his mother's bun hair. He took the tuft of the bun and made a fishing rod. The next day, Amat Mude went fishing in a river in which there were many fish. In no time, he had acquired 5 fish of almost the same size and immediately brought them home. How happy his mother's heart was. "Woo, you are very good at fishing, my son," said his mother praised. "Yes, Mom, the river has lots of fish," said Amat Mude. "Of course they can't finish those 5 big fish." Then the empress's mind arose to sell some of it to a village located not far from where they lived. By inviting Amat Mude, the empress went to the village. When she was about to offer the fish to the people, she suddenly met a rich and generous merchant. He is a former best friend of her husband. "My goodness, princess! Why are the princess and the crown prince in this place?" asked the merchant with surprise. The empress also told all the events that had happened to her until she and her son were in the village. Knowing the deplorable state of the empress and her son, the merchant also invited them to his house and buy all the fish they were selling. Arriving at home, the merchant ordered his wife to immediately cook the fish for the empress and Amat Mude. While cutting the fish, the wife found something strange. She had difficulty cutting the fish's belly with her knife. "Hey, what's in the belly of this fish? Why is it so hard?" asked the merchant's wife in her heart full of astonishment. After the merchant's wife rubbed her knife many times, the fish's stomach was finally split open. How surprised she was when she saw golden yellow fish eggs, but hard. She immediately called her husband to check the object. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that the yellow grains were pure gold. "After cooking and entertaining our guests of honor, sell the gold immediately," asked the merchant to his wife. "For what?" asked his wife surprised. "The money from selling the gold will be used to build a nice house for the empress and her son to live in." I want to repay the kindness of the king who used to help us a lot in his life, said the merchant to his wife. Okay, answered his wife. Then the merchant conveyed the happy news to the empress and her son that they would be made a beautiful house. Hearing the news, the empress was deeply moved. She really didn't expect that her husband's former best friend was so kind to them. Thank you for all your attention to us, said the queen. Forgive me, princess. Our help is nothing compared to the help His Majesty the King gave us during his lifetime, said the merchant as he saluted the queen and Amat Mude. Towards evening, the empress and Amat Mude excused themselves to return to their hut. The merchant also gave them beautiful clothes and provided them with delicious food. Some time later, the empress's house was completed. Now the empress and Amat Mude live in a nice and clean house. To fulfill their daily needs, Amat Mude goes to the river every day to fishing. The fish he gets are for daily consumption and the rest is sold to local residents. Among the fish he got were those that laid golden eggs. They kept the golden eggs little by little, so that in time they became rich and famous all over the country. The news about the wealth of the queen and her son reached the ears of Uncle Amat Mude. Hearing the news, he also intended to harm Amat Mude, because he did not want to give up his power. One day, the greedy viceroy called Amat Mude to come to the palace. When Amat Mude arrived at the palace, how surprised the viceroy was when he saw a dashing and handsome young man saluting before him. In his heart said, "This young man is really a threat to my position as king." So he ordered Amat Mude to go pick ivory coconuts on an island in the middle of the sea. The ivory coconut fruit is needed to treat the illness of the viceroy's wife. That said, the sea through which the island is inhabited by wild beasts. Anyone who crosses the ocean, it will be damned. Hey, Amat Mude, if you don't manage to get the ivory coconuts, you will be put to death, the viceroy threatened. Because he intended to help the Raja Muda's wife, Amat Mude immediately carried out the order. After days of walking, Amat Mude arrived at a beach. He began to be confused to find a way to reach the island. While he was sitting pensively thinking, suddenly a big fish named Selengong Ray appeared, accompanied by the crocodile king and a big dragon. Amat Mude became frightened. "Hey, young one, who are you and where are you going?" asked Selengong Ray Fish. I am Amat Mude," answered Amat Mude nervously, then told him the origins and purpose of his trip. Hearing Amat Mude's story, Selengong Ray Fish, the crocodile and dragon king immediately saluted him. Amat Mude was amazed to see the attitude of the three giant beasts. "Why do you respect me?" asked Amat Mude in surprise. "Forgive me, sir, your late father was a good king. In the past, we were all invited to your naming party," replied the crocodile king. "That's right, sir, you don't need to be afraid. We will accompany you to the island," continued the great dragon. "Thank you, buddy," said Amat Mude. Finally, Amat Mude was escorted by the three giant animals to the island in question. Not long, they arrived on the island. Before Amat Mude went ashore, the big dragon gave Amat Mude a magic ring. By wearing the magic ring, all requests will be granted. After that, Amat Mude immediately looked for ivory coconut tree. Not long after searching, he found it. Apparently, the ivory coconut tree was very tall and only had a single coconut. After conveying his intention to the magic ring that was wrapped around his finger, Amat Mude was able to climb up the tree easily and quickly. When he was picking the ivory coconuts, suddenly a very gentle woman's voice was heard rebuking him. "Whoever manages to pick the ivory coconuts, he will be my husband." Who are you? Asked Amat Mude. I am Princess of Niwer Gading, she answered. When Amat Mude had just come down from the tree while carrying an ivory coconut, suddenly a beautiful princess stood behind him. How amazed he was when he saw the beauty of Princess Niwer Gading. Finally, Amat Mude invited the princess to come home to marry her. Their wedding party was also celebrated in a lively manner at Amat Mude's residence. After the party, Amat Mude, accompanied by his wife and mother, immediately handed over the ivory coconuts he got to his uncle. So he was safe from the threat of death penalty. In fact, thanks to his perseverance and kindness, Raja Mude suddenly became aware of his cheating and evil deeds. He also realized that it was Amat Mude who had the right to occupy the throne of Alas country. Finally, at the request of the Raja Mude, Amat Mude was crowned as the king of Alas country. The story above belongs to the category of fairy tales that contain moral messages that can be used as guidelines in everyday life. One of them is the virtue of steadfastness and hard work. This trait is reflected in the attitude of the Empress and Amat Mude, who are always steadfast in the face of suffering and are always active in trying. Finally, they become rich and live happily.